6 o'clock, and we're calling our Board of Commissioners meeting to order. The invocation pledge tonight will be led by Commissioner
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the day you have given us to do and accomplish the work of our county. Guide us in our small and large decisions, for we know that the smallest act on our part may have ramifications far beyond we see on the surface. Forgive us where we are short-sighted, and give us the eyes to see opportunities the way you see them. We realize that good information will lead to good decisions. Help us to hear that information. Forgive us where we fail. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone here tonight. Is Diane Sullivan here? Yes, I see you. Diane's from the Tonsil Chamber, and she's representing the Council of Chambers here tonight, so glad to have you. If you haven't registered for public address and you want to speak at our public address, you still got time to come up here and sign up. We'll have that right after we adopt the agenda. Okay, are there any changes that we need to make to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Got a motion second to approve the agenda. If you'll cast your vote.
Commissioner Yates, could I have your vote too, please?
Nah, I made a motion. Is that not enough? That's it?
Yes, I got it. Okay. All of the votes are in, and that motion carries 7-0.
And you know, let me back up here just a minute. I just want to say, as you come in tonight, there's a motorcycle sitting down there in the foyer. We tried to get it up here tonight. It wouldn't fit on the elevator. It's an awesome thing. You ought to see that thing. It's an electric motorcycle, and I think our sheriff's department's going to have one or two of them. And I don't know if it'll be down there when you start out, but if it is, take a look at it.
Could have rode that thing up the steps.
I wouldn't want to ride it. Okay, public address. Do we have anybody there? Barney W. Hill. Okay, Barney W. Hill.
Two weeks ago, I praised you for a set of budget amendments that did not mention the PBB program. Tonight's 10 budget amendments invoke the dreaded three-letter combination no fewer than 4 times. See the second sentence of the 4th bullet point under item 6 on page 2 of the budget amendments background. It reads, "These are federal funds that must be spent lest they revert." Spend it so somebody else can't. Isn't that the kind of mentality the PBB program was supposed to cure? When this board gets too flush with funds, it does silly things like buy the Windstream building. Money can do worse than revert. It ought to revert to the taxpayer.
Okay, that ends our public forum, and now we'll go to the public hearing. We have our first public hearing is on the submission of the 5307 grant application by for the Toffel, circular route. Richard, will you?
Good evening, Commissioners. Yeah, the 5307 grant that we will be applying for is for the operations in Thomasville. The funds come from the High Point MPO. It's just kind of a standing grant that we receive each year for Thomasville. It's the funds are determined by the FTA through a split letter between the city of High Point for their transportation system, Guilford County, and then Davidson County. And that amount stays the same every year. So we'll be applying for that for the fiscal year for 2020. And those, like I said, those funds are for the operation. We pays for our bus drivers over there, and then the operation of the bus, fuel, maintenance, all that fun stuff.
Now, we don't compete for this. We just ask for it. Is that it?
We don't. They just give it. They just provide it. We don't ask for it. They do it. North Carolina NCDOT PTD division asked us to do an application for it, but it's funds that are provided to us through the census, 2010 census through High Point.
Okay. Are there any questions anybody wants to ask Mr. Johnson? Okay, we'll see what we got here. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor of this applying for this grant? Anyone speaking in opposition?
Mr. Hill's coming.
Why are so many blanks on so many pages being left blank? Why is what little information there is being repeated so many times? What is accomplished by wasting so much paper? How this application differs from similar applications I have examined is that 15 of its 48 pages consist of conflict of interest disclaimers signed by members of the Transportation Advisory Board. What have these people done to be deemed to deserve to be subjected to this extraordinary exercise in public humiliation? How this application is the same as similar applications I have examined is that the grant it seeks would make this board beholden to the grantor government, rob the taxpayers, demean the passengers, and deprive us all of the array of private sector alternatives that would develop if the grant went somewhere else. I oppose the application.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak in favor or against this application? Okay, I declare the public hearing closed to the audience. Return it back to the commissioners here. Is there any discussion? Can I have a motion and a second to either approve or deny this request?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. If you cast your vote.
All of the votes are in, and that motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Have one more, public hearing here, it's rezoning request by Grady and Luann Hedrick in Silver Valley Township, containing 2.55 acres of land from RA2 to RC. Mr. Corman?
Sure. You do have a request tonight by Grady and Luann Hedrick to rezone a portion of property in Silver Hill Township, tax map 7, tax lot 62B, containing approximately 2.51 acres more or less. Property is located on the south side of Beck's Nursery Road, approximately 400 feet east of the Allred Road intersection. Rezoning is requested to change from RA2 Rural Agricultural District to RC Rural Commercial District. Planning and Zoning Board did discuss this matter on February the 19th. Their recommendation was 5-0 to recommend approval of the request as it was presented to the board. Again, on your zoning map, you see this is the crosshatch area here. This is the area where Mr. Hedrick and his son operate their landscaping business. There's an existing commercial style building there. The property is contiguous to an existing RC district, which is where the old country store is located at the intersection. So he's seeking a similar type zoning that's contiguous to that RC district. But Mr. Hedrick is here tonight. He can talk a little bit more about what they do with at this site with their landscaping business.
Does any of the board want to ask Mr. Corman any questions now?
Just one question,
Okay.
Guy.
Yes, sir.
If that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Is the access to that area going to be through the country store parking lot area, or is that?
No, he has a separate driveway. It doesn't show up very well, but Grady, can you show where that?
Okay, thank you, guy. Whoop.
Did you do that first?
Yes, sir.
There's I own the country store itself, adjacent to the country store.
Will you state your name so we can get it?
Excuse me, Grady Hedrick.
Grady, okay.
I own the property where the country store is right here on the corner. The next adjacent lot is Hedrick Well Drilling, owned by Alice Hedrick and Archie Hedrick. And the next area, there's a small house right here where I'm pointing now. There is a drive access right between Archie Hedrick and this house, and I also have a 30-foot easement right beside it. So I have really two driveways getting in there to it. But our company has grown, and we're trying to do some farming out of the same facility. Yes, I house my landscaping company out there, but we're moving more towards the farming side. My son is more of the rural farmer, the small, young farmer, and he keeps building, and we've added another garage. We've added a couple of sheds for hay and for farm equipment. I do have on the same site equipment shed, and that's where my employees come each morning to check in and leave. So, it's not really any different than it's been for about 15 years, other than I added a new building, and I need to try to take the benefits of the city natural gas runs by, and I want to run gas in there for gas for the building, gas for our dryers, for our corn bins and stuff like that, and that's where I need to try to move forward so I can get a permit so I can get the gas cut back on, or gas cut on, excuse me. Mm-hmm. So really nothing has changed in the neighborhood. I own adjacent property next to it. My sister's own adjacent property next to one area there. Basically, nothing's changed in a long time.
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions for Mr. Hedrick? At this time, we might have some in a minute then.
That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is anyone in the audience who'd like to speak, in favor of this, rezone?
Your cover sheet, the ad, the, staff recommendation and the statement of consistency all have the size of the lot right. You need to fix, the planning board resolution of recommendation so that it says 2.51 instead of 2.76. It took 20 years for there to be a central permitting, and now central permitting is doing what it was designed to do, alerting an unwitting applicant to a technical violation. But even though the violation is particularly hair-splitting, it's on that point of whether you have three acres contiguous, same thing you had in the ferret case. But central permitting is trying to facilitate making this happen here. But even though the violation is particularly hair-splitting, the applicant is conscientiously striving to achieve compliance with this request for RC. Surely his landscaping operation qualifies as what policy 5.6 calls, quote, generally accepted rural business establishment, unquote. And then there's that existing contiguous RC. Contiguity alone is usually enough for you. You have a range of ways you can get there, but the inevitable destination is approval.
Anyone else in the audience like to speak in favor or in opposition of this rezoning request? All right, I'm going to close the hearing to the audience. Bring it back, Guy.
Staff is going to recommend approval of the request because we agree that it is compatible with the ongoing farm uses that are in the area out there, and feel that policies 5.6 and 5.7 of the land development lend support to the proposed rezoning as presented. So it's reasonable and consistent for the board to go ahead and rezone this to RC. His business is providing a service to the growing residential area. He does quite a bit of landscaping business, both in the Lexington area as well as the Central Davidson area.
Are there any questions for Guy?
I have one question, Guy. Back to my driveway thing, just a quick question. Is it gonna be an issue now or in the future with that part being RC but not having RC out to the road?
It shouldn't be. It is true that you probably should include the road as part of that, if the board wanted to, but I don't know of any reason why.
But he owns that land that we could run it out there?
Yeah.
We
have notified.
I just don't want to have a problem with DOT later and have to come back and rezone that little small stretch. If that's not a problem, then we could amend it if that's okay with the board, just so we don't have future issues. Other than that, I commend you for your business, and I'm glad that it's growing in this great economy, and I love it. So that's my only concern, is just for future stuff, or DOT having an issue with a driveway.
Being how he's got a 30-foot right-of-way in there, it's a permanent right-of-way, is it?
It's
Then that wouldn't make any difference whether it was rezoned or not. He's got the right-of-way into his business.
Okay.
Is it a right-of-way, or is it a fee simple ownership interest?
I think it is a right-of-way. It was all my dad's property at one time, and there was an easement I won't call it easement. There's a 30-foot easement. It's on all the deeds. It's on all the maps. The 30-foot there. Adjacent to that property, I own another 60 feet that hooks to this property if I needed to have a driveway. I mean, when we settled my daddy's estate, we planned for that, for the future. You know, I left myself 60 feet if something ever happened to that 30-foot easement.
Yes.
You know, but the 30-foot easement's on all the drawings, all the maps. I was told it's not going anywhere. Maybe I don't want it, but it's not going anywhere. So access is not a problem.
Okay.
But I do have 60 feet adjacent to the same property that's part of this property, actually.
Okay. So if there is a problem, we can come back rezone it.
It's all there.
Okay. I was just looking out for future us.
Yes, I am trying to too, so.
That's good job. And
Grady,
good luck.
Grady, I got a question for you, Grady, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Same type of traffic coming in and out, and it's been coming in and out, correct?
For a long time.
Okay, so,
But the farm deal, we do a lot of farming, and as I spoke to in the planning board, we probably, do a couple 100 acres of corn. We do a lot of hay, and it's
I
my
read that.
son's farming property.
you got 200 acres in hay and 300 in soybeans,
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So,
But-
but the landscaping is the farming's supposed to be a hobby, but it's becoming where it's going the other way now, but.
But the only reason I asked that question, DOT, the only reason they would have an issue if the traffic pattern had changed, and it sounds like this is pretty much
It's all straight away, and there's only
Right.
a few people coming in the morning to come to work.
Thank you, Grady, appreciate it.
doesn't do any, retail sales.
No.
Right, they just coming in and out, do maintenance on their equipment and load up and get seeds.
That
and
was the
type
new
of thing.
building that I built was for maintenance situations, so.
Good, thank you, good to
Any
see you again.
questions?
But any other questions?
If you're ready for a motion, I'm ready to give it.
Give it to me.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to, adopt this, or make a motion to pass it, and the statement of consistency. And guys, at 2.5 or is it 2.76?
Okay, so we got,
It's actually, policy's 5.6.
No, he's asking the acreage.
Oh.
Is it
I wanna correct what
2.51?
Mr. Hill was talking about in the statement of consistency in my motion.
Josh, it should be 2.51, shouldn't it? Yeah, 2.5 less.
Okay, then, make a motion for the statement of consistency to reflect 2.51 acres.
It does.
That does.
Okay.
It does.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, if you will, cast your vote. This is to rezone the property and the statement of, consistency.
All of the votes are in, and that motion carries 7-0.
Okay,
Hey, Guy, what's up with the NC State stuff tonight, huh?
I saw it too. Dowd. Next item will be the consent agenda. Is there anyone here that, would like to get anything removed or from the consent? Or any discussion on the consent?
Oh, looks good to me, Mr. Chairman.
Can I have a motion to approve, second, to approve the consent?
Second.
All right, got a motion second, if you cast your vote. We're gonna get out of here. Ain't done one yet. Good job.
Mr. Nate, can I have your vote, please?
Look
You're
here,
good at making those-
you
you're good
pushing
at
it,
making those
you
votes.
pushing it tonight, okay?
All of the
Want me to
votes are
vote
in,
every
and
time.
that motion carries 7-0.
Okay, that ends the consent agenda. Now at deliberations. The first item on the agenda here is the presentation by Colonel Martin Falls, Assistant Secretary of Military and Veteran Affairs for the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good evening. I believe we're gonna try to get out here before dark. Hopefully we can do that.
We're gonna try it.
It's my pleasure at this time to introduce you to Colonel Martin Falls. He currently serves as the Assistant Secretary to the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. He is a native of Hickory, North Carolina, and a lifelong North Carolina citizen. Mr. Falls is a combat veteran of Iraqi freedom and retired in the year 2012 with over 30 years of military experience. He has received numerous awards to include the Legion of Merit, the Iraqi Campaign Medal, and the Order of the Longleaf Pine. Mr. Falls was commissioned as a Kentucky colonel by the Governor of Kentucky. I'm not sure if we should mention that here or not. Is that all right? And is a member of the United States Army Officer Candidate School Hall of Fame. Mr. Falls assumed his current position as Assistant Secretary to the Veterans Affairs in August of 2018 and he's responsible for ensuring services are provided to more than 778,000 North Carolina veterans and their families. Thank you for your time.
Can you tell me who you are?
Oh, did I not do that? My name is Rick Johnson. I'm the director of the Davidson County Veterans.
That's right, Rick. So we want to put that on the.
Thank you very much.
You don't normally see him in a coat and tie.
No, you don't.
I try as much as I can.
So Colonel, come on up.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much on behalf of the, Governor, Roy Cooper, our 75th governor, and, my boss, Secretary Larry Hall, greetings, and it's an honor to be here tonight. Just a brief, I know, Rick said that, it's gonna get out early, but I'm gonna try to prevent that if possible. 'Cause I know there's a bachelor or something on tonight. I don't know what it is. My wife could tell me that, but anyway, and also, Rick, the chicken is pretty good, as far as being a Kentucky colonel. But yes, that's, history of the Army. But, what do we do in the Veteran Affairs? Our department. Of course, our department is the newest department in, the North Carolina state government. We stood the department up in 2015, and along with it came some things that didn't get funded properly and so forth and all, but hey, you know, primarily we're veterans, we're gonna make it happen, as in the service says. But what do? Well, we advocate for veterans. We are not the VA, but we fight the VA for our veterans. And as Rick said, the 778,000 veterans in North Carolina, that's who we talk to, that's who we deal with. But we're also a state agency, but in close coordination with our county partners. The county service officers, we couldn't do it without them. Our state has got roughly 35 service officers scattered throughout from Murphy to Manteo, so I'd say, down to Wilmington and that area. But we've also got 10 of them in the regional office in Winston-Salem that is open to anyone that calls, try to help adjudicate a claim or whatever. We also administer the scholarship program for children of wartime veterans, which is about a $12 million annual budget there. And we cover the 4 classes that we have, which is those who are service-connected or have died, in the competitive category, those who are have disabilities and so forth. We manage that program. Also, we manage 4 state veterans homes, soon to be 6. We've got one in Black Mountain, one in Fayetteville, one in Salisbury, and one in Kinston right now. And another one added for Wake County and one for Forsyth, Guilford, right on the line there, right off of Interstate 40 in Winston-Salem. We also manage 4 cemeteries: Black Mountain, Spring Lake, right outside of Fort Bragg, Jacksonville, and the 4th one. Why did it fleet in my mind all of a sudden? Goldsboro. Thank you. That was the last one.
One of Salisbury.
The Salisbury is a federal VA facility. These are the 4 state facilities right now. Right now we're expanding 2 of them, Black Mountain and Spring Lake, because they're almost full. We had to expand those to have capacity. We look at a 10-year program of, well, that's what the VA looks at, is a 10-year program. Is it going to be full or not? But with that, that's kind of background of who we are. We also train. We're an accrediting agent for the state of North Carolina. The VA allows one service organization per state to be the accrediting agent for the state, and that's the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs. So all our county service officers are accredited with North Carolina Division of Veteran Affairs and file claims under that. Therefore, they get the benefits of the state, and there's no charge to it whatsoever. But I passed out, and I think Rick has already passed these out. I'd like to call your attention to what this says up here. This is our GDX, we call our government data envelope. But you look on the front page of it, there's a whole lot of numbers there. But what you're looking at is from 2008 until present, 2017, almost 2018. Numbers will not be out from federal VA until March, late March, 1st of April. is what they're telling us for 2018. But this is a snapshot of what your county service officer is doing for you in the state of North Carolina, in this county of Davidson County. So, looking at that across the top, you'll look at the congressional district, which is Davidson County, the year 2008 down, veteran population. Notice the population from 2008 to 2017. And there's been a decrease in that population. However, when you look at expenditures from 2008 to 2017, you'll see from 38 million to 82 million. That is the amount of dollars, federal dollars, that's coming into this county for compensation, pension, the whole gamut. But look at the next column over, which is compensation and pension. Almost double from 2008 to 2017, where you've got 17 million starting out, and now you're receiving 2017 almost 33 million, almost $33 million. That money is coming into your county in the form of a VA check to these veterans, which is a tax-free amount, but that money is spent within your county, or within the state of North Carolina, I'll say that. But a large proportion of it is spent in this county. And the next one is Voc Rehab Education. $2 million, the GI Bill, the Chapter 35, the Chapter 35 for those veterans who are disabled. We look at DIC, we call it DIC, Death and Indemnity Compensation, $420,000. And medical care, the cost of medical care for these, you'll see the unique patients that use the medical care, the VA medical care facility, the total amount there is $46,800,000 annually. Now, when you turn that page over, you'll start seeing the graphs. They tell the tale. So first, when you look at it as veteran population, you can see the decrease in the population of it from 2015 to 2016. We know we've had a lot of our World War II are leaving us daily at a vast number. We know that our Korean veterans are leaving us, and now we're into the Vietnam population. But look at the next one, at the DIC, that's your gross. It's up and down, up and down. That is death of those veterans whose dependents have drawn death and indemnity compensation, and it's kind of flattened out here from 16 to 17. Next, we look at Voc Rehab Education. The education has gone from $1 million to, what is that? $2,250,000 roughly. You can see the spike, the large spike, when the post 9/11 came into play, the post 9/11 GI Bill, that huge spike in it, and then it's kind of leveled off and planed out. But there's more and more coming to it. Then you look at the next one, there's a compensation and pension from 2008 to 2017, a large increase here. So, you look at that and see it. But then you look at the last page, the total expenditures have been just about a constant uphill all the way. And what's happening, even though the vet population is looking this way, your income has gone this way from the veterans that's receiving the income. So that's a testament to what your services are doing in the county. This gives you a picture of what your county service officer is doing for your veterans, which is doing their job, advocating for the veterans, getting them to the right place, doing the right things for those veterans. And I applaud Rick and his staff for that, and I applaud this county for that. This, as we know, agriculture is number one, but the number two is the military and veterans in the state of North Carolina is our largest economic impact. Is agriculture. Number two is military and veterans. And we want to continue to do that. So we fight hard for those veterans to win that case in Washington, D.C., so that they will put $1 in their pocket and they can spend it in their hometown right here, right where they live. And that's our objective. And any questions of me, sir?
Are there any questions for the Colonel? Appreciate your work.
Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do for these veterans, and I know your county and all, and Very proud of it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to take a minute and thank Rick. When my dad passed away a couple of years ago, he'd got a Purple Heart in Korea. He got wounded, got shot in the head, and lost an eye. But anyhow, after he passed away, we found out that his Purple Heart wasn't on his record. That they'd given out so many Purple Hearts in Korea that I guess they'd walk through the hospital rooms and hand them out and didn't really ever get the paperwork done. And Rick went to Congressman Budd and got my dad's Purple Heart. So thank you very much, and I can attest to your work and your concerns for the veterans. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I want to attest to both of you and y'all's departments. I've actually been with a VA claim, have a line of duty, and your folks up in Winston was very grateful. Rick put me in contact with them. I've sent multiple veterans, being a veteran, so I sent them there, and they always enjoy going in and seeing Petra and Rick and the folks in Winston-Salem to help them out. A lot of our veterans have issues, whether it may be mental or physical, and they need that extra hand to hold their hand and assist them. And those folks are super great, and they do help them. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, our next item is the appointment to the planning board. Guy?
As you're aware, on March 1st, a vacancy became available on the Davidson County Planning and Zoning Board. We're thankful for the years of service that John Hedgecock served, and I think this board is going to consider, a resolution at your next meeting. But as a result of Mr. Hedgecock stepping off the board, it creates a vacancy. And of course, we'd like to have that fulfilled at some point. And we have someone who has actually submitted an application, Joseph C. Hayworth, from the Abbott's Creek Community Township, and I think each of the board members has that. You also have the option of considering Ms. Rain Brown, who's also been serving on the board presently as an alternate. And, she is also available to, if the board wanted to appoint her in that permanent seat. But just to remind the board, the seats are for 3 years. They do receive $45 per meeting. As a regular board member, the chair gets $60 per meeting. Presently, Steve Long is serving as chair. He's our longest serving board member now, and he's currently serving. He's got 2 more years on his current term. But Ms. Brown has also been serving for the past, I believe, year.
About a year.
Would she still be an alternate if we took Joe also?
Depending on how the board wanted to work it, you could appoint Mr. Hayworth to the as a regular board member, or if the motion, and if the board had a motion that passed, you could also make Ms.
To answer your question, Rain would still be an alternate.
Okay, because her name's not up here tonight, we're not putting on an alternate.
No.
Okay.
We just wanted to make the board aware that Mr. Hayworth had submitted his application and has an interest. He's a current businessman, owns Dale Payne's automotive shop that he ran for years, and he's also a farmer, and as you know, Mr. Hedgecock had represented well the farming interest on the board. So,
I'd almost forgot about Joe. Joe is who runs the auto shop up behind Leopard High School, up that road.
Yes, that was Dale Payne's,
Yeah.
that goes back some, but, Mr. Payne's, automotive repair shop, he bought.
Know it well.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I believe Joe's actually in the audience tonight. I think he's behind Guy here if you wanted to speak with him. I think he actually worked on your, MG when you were.
Everybody in the county's almost worked on that MG. I don't have it anymore.
I think that's what MG's.
Okay, but what we got for us tonight, we got the application for Joe Hayworth, so,
Here would be my opinion, and how you doing, Mr. Hayworth? I met him back when I was on the campaign trail, but I seen this and I really thought, Joseph was going for the, I really thought the way this should work, Miss Brown would move into the seat, and then Mr. Hayworth would be the alternate, so, I guess, Mr. Brown, would you be okay with being the alternate? Or is this something you wanna set on the board itself?
He applied for the board, I'd say that they won't set the board.
Well, but the reason I asked that question, the alternate usually serves as an alternate before they go on the board, and I talked to Mr. Hayworth the other night, and that's really what I thought, this was all about, was the alternate position. But to me, somebody would set as an alternate before they actually went on the board, so.
I have a question. Is that why Rain probably didn't put in an application? Did she assume that
Application, and she was appointed as an alternate because there wasn't an open seat
so she filled out an application to be on the board?
before she was appointed, yes.
Right, as an alternate, and I think you're right, I think that's why there's not an application here, because.
Well, I was wondering why, but
Right.
she's already filled out one for the board.
Because when I talked to her about a week or two ago, she said, I guess I've been appointed to the board, and I said, no, I think it's gotta be a formal process by the.
It's not an automatic move. We've voted people that have not been alternates
Right,
several
but I'm just
times
saying,
onto the board.
I think that's what she thought, because I didn't really know the answer to that either. I said, I felt like it probably had to come back.
They should have called Guy. He's got all the answers.
The, alternate for the planning board is relatively new. We've never actually had alternates. It was added back in, 2011, but it wasn't until more recent times that we actually had someone, Ms. Brown, that was appointed as an alternate.
And I know she's been working very hard at it, from my understanding, and.
She's, attends all the meetings. She's trying to learn. She's in a process
Right.
of learning, and, she, asks a lot of questions.
I would, like to ask, isn't there 2 classes that you were telling me about that's available for people that's gonna be on the board?
Yes, in May, typically the, School of Government, will hold classes, and, this year it's going to be, I think, around May 1st, at the, Region G Council of Government in Kernersville, and so we encourage our board members. This year, they're actually gonna focus on the quasi-judicial procedures, which is more of the Board of Adjustment, and even as commissioners, you sometimes sit, in a quasi-judicial procedure. So if you yourselves wanted to attend just to brush up on the, legal procedures, I would encourage you to actually, attend that workshop. But it's, May 1st, and, we can get you registered if you're interested. It's an afternoon. It's, usually from about 1:30 to about 4:30. It's about a 3-hour class.
As we, as a board, rely more and more on the planning board, I would, like for that to be a requirement for any of the new board members to attend those classes.
Sure.
Because that, I like Mr. Truill says, if they approve it down at that level. I'm sorry. If planning board approves it, and it comes before us, if they do their job and they do their job correctly, it sure does make ours a lot easier.
Sure.
How long, are those classes?
How long? That usually lasts about 3 hours. It's, from about 1:30 to 4:30. It's just a 1-day class.
Okay. And so the alternate has been serving a year, so she's had a year of classes, right? No, I'm talking about learning experience from those who do the job. On-the-job training, that's what the alternate.
Well, to help Miss Miss Watford sat through it too, but we try to meet with and Mr. Elliott also, but we try to bring them into the office and kind of go over the procedures and whatnot, but this is a more formal workshop. We also have training modules that we can actually apply through the Council of Government. We have those available, but to help people with their decision-making process, we try to meet with the new board members.
You didn't meet with me, guy.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
And I hope you don't find this to be out of line, but, my husband did serve on the planning and zoning, and I think he did work with Mr. Hedgecock for a long time. And, he was, I think they worked well together. And, I think Mr. Hayworth, he may have received a few calls today about the possibility of considering him and that he would be a good candidate. Now, that's just information out there. That's not, but I think because he knew Mr. Hedgecock, that's probably the reasons he may have received a couple of calls from people saying that Mr. Hayworth might be a good candidate. I just thought I'd share that with you.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
So, in coming in here and seeing this application, Mr. Hayworth, this is really nice. And to be honest with you, up until I had some of this new information that come up, I was like, well, you're the only application up here. You're the man that needs the job, Since then, realizing that there's been another application and somebody serving, kind of like in a role waiting for a seat to open up, I don't feel like it's fair to have somebody to turn in an application and be put as an alternate just to be overlooked and put somebody else in that place. I wouldn't want to be done like that.
Well, Chris, or excuse me, Commissioner Elliott, I think what I'm looking at when I see this is the one that stepped down was a business owner and had farming and agriculture experience. He was from the Abbots Creek area. Mr. Hayworth has that same experience. He's very well respected in that community, and nothing against Miss Brown, because I like Miss Brown and have known that family for years. But I'm looking at both of those, that capability. And I would like to, whenever the chairman's ready for a motion, I'd make a motion to put Mr. Hayworth in there.
I would, the only question that I would have is, did Miss Brown's application come before the board when she was put on as an alternate?
That application, we put her on as an alternate.
Then we saw that she was good enough to be on the board, or whoever saw that she was good enough to be on the board then. I don't think it's fair to her to overlook that after she's already been appointed by a board to put somebody else over. That's just me. But I'm just one vote out of 7.
She is on the board as an alternate, though.
Okay.
So we didn't overlook her.
Okay.
That was what it was. The only thing that I have is if we approve one, we're gonna lose one. I'd like to get them both on the board if I could. That's I think that Joe would make a good one, and I know Rain would make a good one.
Is Mr. Hayworth willing to be an alternate? Would he do that, or do you want?
That's what I asked him a question.
Yeah, glad to put them on.
Whatever been proven and pleasure of the board. I've actually, if you've seen the application, I actually served on the COC Agriculture Board in Davidson County now.
I've seen that.
Been on there since 2015. What it does is promotes all the USDA programs to the farmers. We oversee the FSA office for us, your applications and all their business. We meet on a bi-monthly meeting and approve that. Robin Hudson, she's the director, and we oversee her administration.
Ain't no doubt, Mr. Hayworth, I know you'd make a good member on the board, no doubt, but I agree with some of the concerns here. I think Ms. Brown thought that when she was an alternate, that when somebody stepped down or retired, she would take that position. I think she's well qualified for that position as well. And I'd love to have you as an alternate. Like I said, with my conversation with her a week or two ago, I think she just thought since, Mr. Hedgecock stepped down, that since she was an alternate, she would be put in that position. So, you know, I'm kinda like Mr. Elliott over here. I mean, I do have some concerns there, and I think both of y'all are, it's a privilege that we can have both of y'all on there. So I wouldn't have a problem at all putting you on there as an alternate, personally. If Ms. Brown don't want the seat, then that would be fine. I'd put you on the board, but if she wants to, I think she's been in training, like Mr. Shell said, for a year, and it'd be pretty tough to step over her to put somebody else on there. So, and you know, me and you talked back when I was campaigning, and me and you both pretty straight shooters and business people, but that's my feeling, and I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me, and I wouldn't want to do that to her or you. Yeah. So that's just my feeling. So.
And I don't know, Mr. Chairman, I don't know how you'd get somebody else serve as an alternate if you disrespected them to that extent. She was approved by this board to serve as an alternate, unanimously, if I remember. And, she served there a year. She's had the on-the-job training for a year. And I think, I agree. I just think Mr. Hayworth would feel the same way if he'd served as an alternate for a year. And then all of a sudden because somebody liked the other person better, or what, I just don't think you would do that. I just don't think that's ever.
I have a question. So have alternates automatically been made members?
No, can I step in?
Yeah.
That is not the case. That has never been the case. The alternates were not created to do that. We're not passing over one person to put another person in. It's just not. It's not, and certainly not because you like somebody better than the other. I mean, you may have an alternate that doesn't do the job, and you don't want him on the board. And if you have a situation where the alternate automatically goes to the board, now you got a problem. So when the seats have become empty before, the people who wanted to apply for the board have put in an application for the board. Did Ms. Brown not know that the seat was open?
She didn't. No, I mean, she told me the other day that she thought now that Mr. Hedgecock was gone that she would be appointed to this seat. So.
Do you think that's what she had in mind?
She told me that she would, at the meeting when Mr. Hedgecock announced his resignation, she told me that she would be willing to do whatever she wanted.
I think she would do a good job, and I wasn't lobbying for one person or the other, but I think we get into danger of saying that this is the way it's going to work, and that's not the reason that the alternate was created to start with. The alternate was there to take the place of somebody who was not able to serve on the board in that particular evening. So I don't have any problem with either one of them. I think both are qualified. But let's not get into the idea that we're stepping over somebody to put somebody on the board, because that's not the case. We're just considering a board member, and that's it.
Mr. Guy, could I speak to you for a second? Did Ms. Brown fill out the exact same application as this?
At the time that she was appointed as the alternate, and like I said, that was the first time we were able to recruit someone to serve as an alternate.
Okay.
Okay, everyone's had a chance. All right, I'm ready for my motion now.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Joseph Hayward to replace our vacant seat.
Sorry you had to get through this, Mr. Hayward.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your vote. This is to appoint Joseph Hayward.
I'm sorry, we've got a different screen and I'm trying to scroll through it. All of the votes are in and the motion carries 4-3.
Okay, Joe, you on the board now.
It's not a vote against you, Mr. Hayward. I hope you understand that.
Next item is the request for approval of onboard committee software solution. And Zeb, that, I can't even pronounce that hardly, so go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, what we've been looking at is, right now, we keep up with our boards in a notebook. And, the clerk and I reviewed a package the other day that would make it all electronic, that it would probably alleviate some per work, that the actual, like at the health board, the health department would keep it up. It would send her notifications when board members, when positions come open or expired. We thought it might be something that she could use over the course of the year, instead of having it in a notebook, have it electronically so that we could keep up with it in a little bit more professional fashion. And the clerk reviewed it.
And it will also interface with our website to where all of our board members would be available, they'll be transparent to the public.
It's a no-brainer.
It is, and for $1,999 a year and that's what it'll be from here on out. I mean, just in our other folks, the folks like DSS and the health board, they also will have access to it so they can update their information. So it'll be shown in real time out on the website.
Mr. Chairman, if you'd like a motion, I'll make a motion.
Is any other discussion?
I'll make a second.
Make your motion. Got a motion and a second to approve the,
On board, whatever.
what this was, yes. Cast your vote.
Michelle, could I have your vote? And Chairman Truul, could I have your vote? All of the votes are in, and that motion carries 7-0.
Go to closed session.
Between this and closed session.
Oh, okay, we're going in closed session. We've got 2 minutes here that, I think.
You can't do nothing in 2 minutes. Make it 5.
Watch your hands.
I can't even get my zipper in 2 minutes.
Got a second?
Hold on a second.
Everybody's in favor?
We're all in Creek, but they still work.
Can't we just show hands of this? So-
Okay, now we're ready.
Okay, we've got a motion, a second, to go back in open session, and, we got a 7-0 vote. Mr. Fry,
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, in closed session, the board considered two matters, and one of attorney-client and one of real property, and in both of those cases, the board gave, direction for further, action on behalf of the county. Thank you, that's all I have.
okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.